I watched my son's wife stand up at the Thanksgiving table, her face twisted with rage, pointing her finger at me like I was something she scraped off her shoe. The whole family sat frozen, forks halfway to their mouths. She screamed that I didn't belong in her house, that I was ungrateful, that Lucas needed to throw me out right then and there. The turkey was still steaming on the table. My grandson was crying. And I just sat there, 73 years old, holding a napkin in my shaking hands, wondering how my life had come to this moment. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the truth was about to walk into that dining room and sit down right next to her lies. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who smiled in your face while destroying you behind your back, you're going to feel this one deep. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. These stories matter. Your voice matters. Let's build this family together. My name is Bradley James Hutchinson. I'm 73 years old now, but this story takes place when I was 71, living in Durham, North Carolina. At the time, I thought I was just a lonely old man moving in with his son. I didn't know I was walking into a nightmare that would nearly break me, but it would also save me. This is that story. Let me take you back to before all this happened. Back when I still had my wife, Margaret. We lived in a small brick house on Fayetteville Street, the kind with a front porch swing that creaked when the wind blew. Margaret and I raised our son Lucas in that house. That boy was everything to me. I worked double shifts at the textile plant so he could have what I never did: new school clothes, hot meals every night, a chance at something better. I remember the summer Lucas turned 8. I taught him how to change a tire in the driveway, the July sun beating down on us like a hammer. He had these big, serious eyes, always watching, always learning. "Dad," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead with his little arm, "when I grow up, I'm going to work hard just like you." I ruffled his hair. "You're going to work smarter than me, son. That's the whole point." Margaret called us in for lemonade, and we sat on that porch, the three of us, like we had all the time in the world. But time's a thief, and it was already picking our pockets. Lucas grew up good, real good. He graduated high school with honors, got himself a job in IT, started making decent money. I was proud. Margaret was proud. We'd done right by him. He had values, knew how to work, knew how to respect people, knew the difference between right and wrong. Then he met Linda. It was at some company event, he told us. She worked in marketing, had one of those bright smiles that could light up a room. Lucas brought her by the house one Sunday after church. She wore a yellow dress and complimented Margaret's sweet potato pie. She seemed nice enough, polite, asked questions, laughed at my old stories. But something about her didn't sit right with me. I can't explain it. It was like watching a performance. Everything was just a little too perfect, you know? The way she touched Lucas's arm, the way she agreed with everything he said, the way her eyes went cold the second she thought nobody was looking. Margaret said I was being paranoid. "Brad, you'd find fault with an angel if she came courting our boy," she said, folding laundry in our bedroom. "That girl is sweet on him. Let them be." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just one of those fathers who didn't think anyone was good enough for his son. 6 months later, Lucas came to us, sat us down in the living room, his hands clasped together, that nervous smile on his face. "Pop, Mama," he said, "Linda and I want to get married." Margaret lit up like Christmas morning, but I felt something heavy settle in my chest. "Son," I said carefully, "you sure about this? You haven't known her that long." His smile faded. "I love her, Dad. She's the one." "Love's important," I said, "but so is knowing someone's character, seeing how they act when times get hard." Linda hadn't been there for any hard times yet. She'd only seen Lucas with money in his pocket and a smile on his face. "Brad," Margaret said, shooting me a look, "if our boy says he loves her, we support him." But I couldn't shake it. Over the next few weeks, I tried to talk to Lucas, tried to suggest maybe they wait a year, live together first, make sure they're compatible. Every conversation ended with him getting frustrated, saying I didn't trust his judgment, that I was trying to control his life. I wasn't trying to control him. I was trying to protect him. But you can't protect someone who don't want protection. Finally, after months of tension, I gave in. I looked at my son's face, the disappointment, the hurt, and I couldn't stand it anymore. All right, I said, pulling him into a hug on our porch. If she makes you happy, then you have my blessing. His whole face changed. Really, Pop? Really? Just promise me you'll be careful. Keep your eyes open. I will, Dad, I promise. They got married that fall, small ceremony at a chapel in Raleigh. Margaret cried happy tears. I smiled and shook hands and danced with the bride. But the whole time I had this feeling in my gut, like watching storm clouds roll in and knowing you forgot to close the windows. And I was right to worry. For a while, everything seemed fine. Lucas and Linda got a nice house in Cary, one of those new developments with a 2-car garage and a backyard. Lucas kept climbing at his job. Linda quit hers, said she wanted to focus on making a home, maybe starting a family soon. Margaret and I would visit every other Sunday. Linda always had the house spotless, always had food ready. She'd hug me at the door, call me Dad, ask about my week at the plant. I kept watching, kept waiting for the mask to slip, but it never did, not in front of me. Maybe I'd been wrong, I started thinking. Maybe I judged her too harshly. Maybe she really did love my son. Then Margaret got sick. Started with a cough that wouldn't go away. Then she couldn't catch her breath walking to the mailbox. The doctor said it was cancer, lungs, and it had spread. Said she had maybe 6 months if we were lucky. We weren't lucky. She had 3. Those 3 months were the longest and shortest of my life. I took leave from the plant, spent every day taking care of my Margaret, giving her medicine, reading to her, holding her hand while she slept. Lucas came by every evening after work, sometimes staying until midnight, just sitting with his mama. Linda came too, brought flowers, said the right things, but I noticed she never stayed long, always had somewhere else to be. Margaret died on a Tuesday morning in April. The dogwoods were blooming outside our bedroom window. She opened her eyes, looked at me, and smiled. "You gave me a good life, Bradley Hutchinson," she whispered. Then she closed her eyes and didn't open them again. The funeral was packed. Margaret had touched a lot of lives, but I stood at the graveside and felt like I was the only person in the world. The preacher's words blended together. The hymns sounded far away. Lucas held my arm to keep me steady, and I realized then that I was an old man who just lost his whole world. The next few months were dark. I went back to the house on Fayetteville Street, and it was too quiet, too empty. Margaret's coffee mug still sat by the sink. Her reading glasses were on the nightstand. Her scent was fading from the pillows, and I couldn't bear it. I stopped eating right, stopped sleeping much, just sat in that old house, surrounded by memories of a life that was over. Lucas started calling every day. "Pop, you doing okay? You eating? You need anything?" "I'm fine, son," I'd say. But I wasn't fine, and we both knew it. One Saturday, Lucas showed up unannounced, found me sitting in the dark living room at 2 in the afternoon, still in my pajamas. He sat down next to me on the couch, and we didn't say anything for a long time. "Dad," he finally said, "you can't live like this." "Like what?" "Alone, in the dark, wasting away." He turned to face me. "Come stay with me and Linda, just for a while, until we find you a nice place, maybe one of those senior communities where you'd have people around." I shook my head. "I'm not going to burden you, son." "Burden? Dad, you're my father. You raised me. You worked your fingers to the bone so I could have a better life. Now let me take care of you for a change." I looked at him, my boy, grown into a man, with concern written all over his face, and I couldn't say no. "Just for a little while," I said, "until we find something else." He smiled. "Just for a little while." I packed a bag that night. As I zipped it closed, I looked around the bedroom I'd shared with Margaret for 40 years. Something told me I wasn't coming back to this house. Not to live anyway. But I ignored that voice. I was 71 years old, tired and lonely. What did I have to lose? Turns out, I had a lot more to lose than I thought. Lucas and Linda's house in Cary was beautiful. I'll give her that. Everything matched. The furniture, the curtains, the damn throw pillows. It looked like one of those magazines Margaret used to flip through at the salon. Linda greeted me at the door with a smile. "Welcome, Dad. We're so glad to have you. I set up the guest room downstairs. It has its own bathroom, so you'll have your privacy." The room was nice. Queen bed, dresser, a small TV. Lucas helped me unpack while Linda made dinner. "See, Pop," he said, hanging my shirts in the closet. This is going to be good for you. You'll have company, home-cooked meals. You won't be alone anymore. That night, we ate dinner together at their dining room table. Linda had made pot roast. It wasn't as good as Margaret's, but it was decent. We talked about Lucas's work, about the weather, about nothing important. Linda kept smiling me across the table, but her eyes weren't smiling. They were measuring me, calculating me. I pushed the feeling away, told myself I was being paranoid again. The first week was fine, pleasant even. Linda was sweet as pie when Lucas was around. She'd ask if I needed anything, if my room was comfortable, if there was anything special I wanted for dinner. Lucas worked long hours. He'd leave at 7 in the morning, wouldn't get home until 7 at night, sometimes later, which meant most days it was just me and Linda in that big house. That's when things started to change. It was subtle at first, little things. I'd be watching TV in the living room, and she'd come in, grab the remote without asking, and change the channel. "Oh, I need to watch my show," she'd say, not even looking at me. When Lucas got home, though, she'd ask me what I wanted to watch, making a big show of how considerate she was. Or I'd come into the kitchen for a glass of water, and she'd sigh real loud. "Can you not see I'm trying to cook?" she'd snap. But when Lucas was home, she'd encourage me to sit at the kitchen island, chat with her while she prepared meals. I started noticing her face change depending on who was in the room. With Lucas, she was all smiles and sweetness. Alone with me, her mouth would set in a hard line. Her voice would go flat. One Tuesday morning, about 3 weeks in, I was doing my laundry in the basement. I'd always done my own laundry. Margaret taught me early that a man should know how to take care of himself. I was folding my clothes when Linda came down the stairs. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Just washing my clothes." "Well, don't take all day. I have my own laundry to do. I'll be done in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what? Just finish up and next time, ask me before you use the machines. This isn't your house." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw the real Linda, the one she'd been hiding since the day Lucas brought her to meet us. The mask wasn't just slipping, it was off. "Lucas invited me to stay here," I said quietly. "Lucas invited you," she repeated, taking a step closer. "Not me, Lucas, because he feels sorry for you. But I'm the one who has to deal with you being here all day, every day, in my space." She turned and went back upstairs, leaving me standing there with a towel in my hands, my heart pounding. That night at dinner, Linda was all smiles again. "Brad, how was your day? Did you watch your game shows?" Lucas looked at me. "You okay, Pop? You seem quiet." I wanted to tell him, wanted to say what his wife had said to me in the basement. But I looked at Linda, saw the challenge in her eyes, and I knew if I said something, she'd make me look like the problem. The bitter old man who couldn't adjust. The father-in-law from hell. So I smiled. "Just tired, son. It was a good day." Linda's smile widened. She'd won round one, and I realized this wasn't going to be a temporary stay. This was going to be a war. A month into living with Lucas and Linda, I'd learned to make myself invisible. I stayed in my room most of the day, only came out when I heard Lucas's car in the driveway, ate whatever Linda put in front of me without comment, kept my mouth shut. But Linda wasn't satisfied with me just being quiet. She wanted me gone. The incidents got worse. She'd make dinner but forget to make enough for 3 people. Lucas would ask where mine was, and she'd act surprised. "Oh my goodness, I completely forgot. Brad, I'm so sorry. I guess I'm not used to cooking for 3 yet." She'd whip something up quick while Lucas watched, and he'd accept her explanation. She'd do her laundry and accidentally throw my clean clothes from the dryer onto the basement floor. I'd find them there, stepped on, covered in lint. When I mentioned it to Lucas, she'd gasp, "Oh no!" I didn't see them there. "I'm so sorry, Dad." She was smart. Every attack came with an apology, a believable excuse, and Lucas believed every single one. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was being oversensitive. Maybe she really was just adjusting to having a house guest. Maybe I was the problem. Then came the day with the singlet. It was a Thursday afternoon. Lucas was at work. I was in my room, reading one of the books Lucas had brought from my old house when I needed to use the bathroom. The downstairs one was occupied. Linda was taking one of her long baths, so I went upstairs to use the hall bathroom. I washed my hands, dried them, And that's when I saw it. In the sink, half covered by a towel, was a man's white singlet, a tank top undershirt, the kind Lucas didn't wear. Lucas was a regular t-shirt guy. I stood there, staring at it. My heart started beating faster. This didn't belong to Lucas. This didn't belong to me. So whose was it? I thought about Margaret, about how she always told me to trust my instincts, about that feeling I'd had about Linda from the very beginning. I left the bathroom, went downstairs, sat in my room, and waited. When Lucas got home that evening, I waited until we were alone. Linda was in the kitchen, making what she called stir-fry but looked more like vegetables, crying for help. "Son," I said quietly, "can I talk to you for a second?" "Sure, Pop, what's up?" "There's a men's undershirt in your upstairs bathroom sink. White singlet. It's not mine, and I don't think it's yours. You wear regular t-shirts." Lucas's face did something complicated. Confusion, then concern, then something else I couldn't quite read. A singlet? In the bathroom? Half covered by a towel, like someone was trying to hide it. Lucas called out, "Linda, can you come here for a second?" She walked in, wiping her hands on a dish towel, that patient smile on her face. "Yes, honey?" "There's a men's singlet in our bathroom. Do you know anything about it?" Her face didn't change, didn't even flicker. "Oh, that's your father's. I found it in the laundry and put it in the sink because it had a stain. I was going to treat it before washing it again." I opened my mouth. "That's not." But Lucas was already nodding. "Pop, you got to be more careful where you leave your clothes. Linda's not your maid." "Lucas, I don't own any singlets. I haven't worn one of those since the 90s. Linda let out a long sigh. "Brad, I understand you're not used to living with other people anymore, but you can't keep leaving your things everywhere. First the laundry on the floor, now this. I found it in the hallway. It's yours." She said it with such conviction, such certainty, that I saw Lucas's face change. He believed her. Over me. Over his own father. "Pop," Lucas said, and his voice had that patient tone you use with children or old people. "Just try to keep track of your things, okay? Linda works hard to keep this house clean." They both walked out. Left me sitting there, my hands shaking. She'd lied right to my face, right to her husband's face, and she'd made me look like a confused old man. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and I knew. I didn't have proof yet, but I knew. Linda was bringing someone into this house, into my son's house, while Lucas was at work, and I was the only one who could see it. After the single incident, I started paying attention, real attention. When Linda thought I was in my room, I'd watch, I'd listen. I started noticing patterns. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon around 2 o'clock, Linda would suddenly become very busy. She'd shower, do her makeup, put on nice clothes, not the yoga pants and t-shirts she usually wore around the house. Real outfits, perfume, and around 3 o'clock, I'd hear the doorbell. The first time I thought maybe it was a friend, a neighbor, but when I walked past the living room window on my way to the kitchen, I saw him. A man, maybe mid-30s. Athletic build. He wore nice clothes, button-up shirts, good jeans, the kind of man who worked out and spent money on haircuts. He'd come in, and Linda would close the door quickly. I'd retreat to my room, but I'd leave my door cracked just an inch. I'd hear them talking in low voices, laughing, the sound of the TV turning on upstairs. Then about an hour later, I'd hear the front door open and close. He'd be gone. This happened week after week, like clockwork. I wanted to tell Lucas. God, I wanted to tell him. But I could already hear how it would sound. Your paranoid old father thinks he saw some man visiting. He can't prove anything. He doesn't have any evidence. He's just a bitter old man who never liked your wife. So I waited, watched, gathered my evidence. One Thursday, I was coming back from checking the mail when I saw the man's car pulling out of the driveway. I memorized the license plate, wrote it down on a piece of paper I kept in my wallet. Another time, I heard them upstairs. I crept to the bottom of the stairs and listened. I heard Linda's voice, different than how she talked to Lucas. Softer, sweeter, real. "When is he going to find a place?" the man said. "I don't know," Linda said. "Lucas keeps saying they're looking, but I think the old man wants to stay here forever. He's ruining everything. You need to make him more uncomfortable, make Lucas choose." "I'm trying," Linda said, "but Lucas has this weird loyalty thing with his dad." They laughed, both of them, laughing about my son's loyalty like it was a character flaw. I went back to my room, Sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking so bad I had to clasp them together. This woman was destroying my son's life, and he couldn't see it, wouldn't see it, because she was that good at playing her part. That night, Lucas asked me how my day was. Fine, I said. You seem down lately, Pop. Everything okay? I looked at him, at this good man I'd raised, this man who worked hard, who brought his father into his home, who tried to do right by everyone. And I couldn't tell him, because I had no proof, just an old man's suspicions and a license plate number that proved nothing. Just missing your mama, I said, which was true. Margaret would have known what to do. I miss her too, Lucas said, putting his hand on my shoulder. But we're going to get through this. Together, with the woman who was betraying him sitting 10 feet away, smiling at her phone. I nodded. Together. But I was alone in this, and I was running out of time. Sunday morning came with clear skies and that particular kind of quiet you only get in the suburbs. Lucas was outside washing his car, a blue Honda Accord he babied like it was a luxury vehicle. He'd been out there for an hour, working on every inch of that car, the way he'd learned from me in our driveway all those years ago. I was inside, sitting in my room, when I heard voices outside. Lucas talking to someone. I got up, looked out my window, and saw Mr. Patterson from 3 doors down. Nice man, retired postal worker. He and Lucas were chatting by the car. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw Lucas's face change, saw confusion cross his features, then something else. Surprise, concern. The conversation didn't last long. Mr. Cokerod. Patterson walked away. Lucas stood there for a moment, just holding his sponge, water dripping down his arms. Then he went back to washing the car, but his movements were stiff, mechanical. Something had shifted. Later that day, after Linda had gone to her yoga class, she didn't own yoga pants that had ever seen a gym, Lucas came to my room, knocked on the door frame even though the door was open. Pop, can we talk? Of course, son, come in. He sat on the edge of my bed, rubbed his hands on his jeans. Mr. Patterson said something strange today. I waited. He asked me how my brother was doing. You don't have a brother. That's what I told him. Lucas looked at me. But he insisted, said there's a man who comes to the house regularly when I'm at work. Said Linda told him it was my brother visiting from out of town. The room felt very still, like the world was holding its breath. What did you tell him? I asked. I told him he must be confused, that maybe he's mixing up our house with someone else's. Lucas paused. But Pop, Mr. Patterson's been our neighbor for 4 years. He knows which house is ours. What are you thinking, son? Lucas stood up, paced to the window. I don't know what I'm thinking. Linda wouldn't, she's home all day. Maybe she does have a friend who visits. Maybe she just told Mr. Patterson it was my brother because it was easier than explaining who he really was. Or maybe, I said carefully, she told Mr. Patterson that because she didn't want anyone asking questions. Lucas turned to look at me. What are you saying? I could have told him everything then, about the singlet, about the man I'd seen, about the conversations I'd overheard. But something stopped me. If I dumped it all on him now, he'd think I was a paranoid old man with an axe to grind against his wife. I'm saying, I said slowly, that maybe you should find out for yourself who's visiting your house. Lucas stood there for a long moment. Then he nodded. Yeah, maybe I should. That evening, Linda made spaghetti. She was in a particularly good mood, singing along to the radio, dancing a little while she cooked. Lucas was quiet during dinner. He kept looking at her, like he was seeing her for the first time, really seeing her. How was yoga? He asked. Great, really intense core workout today. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. She twirled more spaghetti on her fork. How was your day? Fine, washed the car, talked to Mr. Patterson. I saw it, just for a second. Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. Then she recovered. Oh, how is he? Such a sweet man. He's good. Said something interesting, though. Oh? Said he's seen my brother visiting lately. Linda laughed. Perfect, natural laugh. Your brother? You don't have a brother. That's what I told him. He must be getting confused in his old age, poor thing. She reached over, touched Lucas's hand. Maybe he saw someone visiting the Johnsons next door. Lucas nodded slowly. Maybe. But I saw his eyes, and I saw something new there. Something that looked like doubt. The seed had been planted. Now it just needed time to grow. 3 days after the conversation with Mr. Patterson, I heard Lucas in the garage. It was early morning before work. I walked in and found him digging through boxes on the shelves. "Looking for something, son?" He turned, and I saw something in his face I hadn't seen in a long time. Determination. "That security camera system I bought 2 years ago, the one I never installed. You know where it might be?" My heart started beating faster. "Should be in one of those boxes on the top shelf, the ones labeled tech." He found it, pulled down a box, opened it. 4 small cameras, still in their packaging. A receiver. Installation guides. "You're putting up security cameras?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. "Yeah, been meaning to do it for a while. You know, with all the package thefts happening in the neighborhood." There hadn't been any package thefts in this neighborhood. We both knew it. "You gonna tell Linda?" Lucas looked at me. "Probably should, right? I mean, they're going inside the house." "Or," I said carefully, "you could just install them. Tell her later. Surprise her with the added security." Lucas held my gaze, and in that moment, we both knew what we were really talking about. We were talking about the truth, about finding out what was really happening in this house while he was at work. "Yeah," he said finally. "Surprise her. That sounds good." That night, after Linda went to bed, Lucas and I stayed up late. We installed 2 cameras, one in the living room, hidden on top of a bookshelf behind a picture frame, and one in the upstairs hallway, tucked up in the corner where the wall met the ceiling. You'd never see them unless you were looking. Lucas set up the app on his phone, tested it. The video was crystal clear. Motion detection was working perfectly. "Thanks for helping, Pop," he said as we finished. "Of course. That's what fathers are for." He looked at me then, and I saw something in his eyes. Maybe it was regret. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was gratitude that I'd been here, watching, protecting him even when he didn't know he needed protecting. "Whatever happens," I said, "we'll deal with it. Together." He nodded. Together. The cameras were set. Now all we had to do was wait. Tuesday came. Lucas went to work like normal, kissed Linda goodbye at the door. "I've got meetings all day," he said. "Might be late." "No problem," Linda said. "I'll save you some dinner." I watched from my room as she closed the door. Then, like clockwork, she went upstairs. I heard the shower running, the blow dryer, the closet opening and closing. She was getting ready. At 3:15 p.m., the doorbell rang. I heard Linda's footsteps, the door opening, his voice. "Hey, beautiful. Hey, yourself. He's in his cave as usual. We're good." They went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, and somewhere on Lucas's phone, a notification pinged. Motion detected. I sat in my room and waited. An hour passed, then another. Finally, I heard the bedroom door open. Footsteps on the stairs. The front door. A car engine starting. He was gone. Linda came downstairs humming. I heard her in the kitchen, pulling out things for dinner like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just destroyed her marriage in high-definition video. When Lucas got home that evening, his face was different. Blank. Empty. Like someone had scooped out everything behind his eyes and left just a shell. "How was work?" Linda asked, kissing his cheek. "Fine," he said. He didn't look at her. At dinner, Lucas barely ate. He kept looking at Linda, and I could see him struggling between the woman he thought he'd married and the woman he'd seen on that camera feed. "You okay, honey?" Linda asked. "You seem distracted." "Just tired," he said. "You work too hard. You should take a day off. We could do something fun." "Maybe," Lucas said, but I knew. I knew he was planning something, waiting for the right moment, and that moment was coming faster than any of us realized. The week before Thanksgiving, the house felt like it was holding its breath. Lucas hadn't said anything about what he'd seen on the camera, hadn't confronted Linda, hadn't even told me directly, though I could see it eating him alive. He moved through the house like a ghost, barely ate, barely slept. I'd hear him up at night, pacing in his bedroom. Linda seemed to sense something was off. She was extra sweet, extra attentive. "Baby, you're working too hard. Come watch a movie with me. Let me make you your favorite dinner." "What's wrong? Talk to me." He'd say he was fine, just stressed with work. She'd buy it or pretend to and go back to her routine. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, like clockwork, the man came. And every time Lucas got the notification on his phone, I'd see his jaw tighten, see his hands clench, but he didn't say anything. One evening, about 4 days before Thanksgiving, Lucas came to my room, sat down heavily in the chair by the window. "I saw it," he said quietly. "The camera. I saw them. I know, son. How long have you known? I suspected from the beginning, knew for sure maybe a month ago. He put his head in his hands. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me without proof? He was quiet for a long time. No, he finally said, I wouldn't have. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry I couldn't save you from this. You tried. From the very beginning, you tried to warn me. He looked up at me. That day at the church, when I asked for your blessing to marry her, you knew then, didn't you? I knew something wasn't right. I didn't know it would be this. Lucas stood up, walked to the window, looked out at his perfect suburban yard, his perfect suburban street, his perfect suburban life that was all a lie. Thanksgiving's in 4 days, he said. Linda's family is coming. Her parents, her sister, her aunt and uncle. My cousins are coming too. She's been planning this dinner for weeks. What are you going to do? He turned to look at me, and I saw something new in his face. Something cold, something final. I'm going to let her have her perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Let her play the perfect wife one more time, and then I'm going to show everyone exactly who she really is. Lucas. No, Pop. She humiliated you, gaslit you, made you look like a crazy old man. She betrayed me in our own house, in our own bed. She lied to everyone, and she was going to keep lying for as long as I let her. Son, think about this. I have thought about it. For 5 days, that's all I've thought about. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done protecting her feelings. I'm done making excuses. I'm done. I stood up, walked over to him, put my hand on his shoulder. Okay, then we do it your way. I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of this, he said. I'm your father. There's no middle. There's just your side. Always has been. He hugged me then. Really hugged me. The way he hadn't since he was a little boy. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for seeing what I couldn't. That's what family does, I said. The next few days were strange. Lucas played his part perfectly. Went to work, came home, smiled at Linda, helped her plan the Thanksgiving dinner, went to the grocery store with her to buy the turkey and all the fixings, and the whole time he was planning her destruction. Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving, Lucas couldn't sleep. I heard him get up around 2 a.m. Found him sitting in the dark living room, just staring at nothing. I sat down next to him. Didn't say anything, just sat. I loved her, he finally said. I really loved her. I know. How could she do this? How could she look me in the eye every day and lie? Some people, I said, they're so good at lying they don't even know they're doing it anymore. It becomes who they are. Was any of it real? Did she ever love me at all? I thought about that. Maybe at the beginning. Or maybe she loved what you could give her. The house, the life, the respectability. Some people, they don't love you. They love what you can do for them. Margaret, your mama, she loved you for you, not for what you could give her. That's the difference. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Tomorrow's going to be bad, isn't it? Yeah, son. It's going to be real bad. Good, he said. She deserves bad. We sat there in the dark until the sun came up. 2 men waiting for the storm we knew was coming. And when that storm finally hit, it would tear everything apart. Thanksgiving Day started with Linda in the kitchen at 6 a.m. I could hear her downstairs, pots clanging, the oven door opening and closing, her humming along to some radio station playing holiday music. She was in her element, the perfect hostess preparing the perfect meal. She had no idea what was coming. Lucas was up by 7. He came down to the kitchen, kissed Linda on the cheek like nothing was wrong. Smells amazing in here, he said. 20-pound turkey, Linda said proudly. Your favorite, cornbread stuffing, sweet potato casserole, green beans with bacon, homemade rolls, and your grandmother's pecan pie recipe. She said it like she was reciting a resume. Look at me. Look at what a good wife I am. You've outdone yourself, Lucas said. His voice was flat, but Linda didn't notice. She was too busy basting the turkey. Guests started arriving around noon. Linda's parents, Harold and Diane, nice folks who didn't have a clue what their daughter really was. Linda's sister Jennifer with her husband Steve. Their aunt Paula and Uncle Jim. Lucas's cousins Marcus and Tasha with their kids. The house filled up with noise. Laughter, football on the TV, kids running around. The smell of turkey and all those side dishes making everything feel warm and normal and safe. Linda was in heaven. She floated through the house in her new dress, accepting compliments, making sure everyone had drinks, playing the perfect hostess. More wine, Mom? Dad, try these cheese puffs I made. Oh, Jennifer, I love your hair like that. I sat in the corner of the living room, watching it all unfold, watching Lucas watch her, waiting. At 3 o'clock, Linda called everyone to the dining room. She'd extended the table and set it beautifully, her good china fancy napkins, a centerpiece with fall leaves and small pumpkins. It looked like something out of a magazine. Everyone sat down. Harold said grace. Then Linda brought out the turkey on a big platter, setting it in front of Lucas to carve. More compliments, more smiles. Lucas carved the turkey. Plates were passed. Side dishes made their rounds. Everyone loaded up their plates, talking and laughing. Linda sat at the other end of the table from Lucas, positively glowing. This was her moment, her performance, her proof that she was exactly who she pretended to be. I took a bite of the stuffing. It was good. Everything was good. Linda could cook, I'll give her that. Then I tasted the gravy. It was salty. Too salty. She'd either added too much salt or used salted broth and then added more salt. Either way, it was off. Linda, I said, not loud, just normal speaking voice, this gravy's a bit salty. The whole table got quiet just for a second. Then Linda laughed. Oh, Dad, you probably just got a piece that had more salt. It's fine. I'm just saying it tastes salty to me. Well, everyone else seems to be enjoying it just fine. Her voice had an edge, sharp, like a warning. Lucas spoke up. Actually, now that Dad mentions it, it is a little salty. Linda's smile froze. It's not that salty. It's okay, honey. It happens. Everything else is great. But Linda wasn't okay. I could see it. Her perfect day was being criticized. Her perfect performance had a flaw, and she was about to snap. You know what? Linda said, her voice getting louder. I have been cooking since 6 o'clock this morning. 6 o'clock. I made a 20-pound turkey, 5 side dishes, homemade rolls, and a pie from scratch, and all I get is complaints about the gravy being salty? Linda, nobody's complaining, Lucas started. Yes, you are. Your father is. He's always finding something to complain about. Always. The laundry, the bathroom, now the gravy. Nothing is ever good enough for him. The whole table was staring now. Kids had stopped eating. Linda's mother looked shocked. Maybe, Linda said, standing up, her voice shaking with rage. Maybe it's time for your father to find somewhere else to live, Lucas. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of having him in our house. I'm tired of walking on eggshells. I'm tired of him looking at me like I'm some kind of criminal. I want him out. She pointed at me. Her hand was shaking. Her face was red. You need to tell him, Lucas. Tell him he has to leave. Today, tonight. I don't care. But he can't stay here anymore. The dining room was dead silent. Linda looked at Lucas, waiting for him to take her side the way he always did, waiting for him to choose her over me. But Lucas didn't move. He just sat there, his hand still on his fork, looking at his wife like she was a stranger. No, he said quietly. What? No, my father isn't going anywhere. Linda's face changed. Confusion, then anger. Lucas, what are you? But you are. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times. Then he held it up for everyone at the table to see. On the screen was a video, crystal clear. Linda in their upstairs hallway, kissing a man who wasn't Lucas, laughing. The man's hands on her waist, her hands in his hair. The room exploded. Linda's mother gasped. Her father stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Linda's sister's mouth dropped open. That's not, Linda stammered. Not what? Lucas's voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard it. Not you? Not in our house? Not in our bed? Because I have more videos, Linda. Hours of them. You and your friend who my neighbor thought was my brother. Remember when you told Mr. Patterson he was my brother so no one would ask questions? Lucas, let me explain. Explain? Lucas stood up. Explain what? Explain how you've been cheating on me for months? Explain how you gaslit my father, made him look crazy when he was the only one who could see what you really are. Explain this? He walked to the sink, reached under it, and pulled something out. A white singlet, the one from months ago. Remember this? When Pop found this in our bathroom and you told me it was his? You lied. Right to my face, you lied. Tears were running down Linda's face now. Baby, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I'll end it. I'll do anything. Please don't do this here. Not in front of everyone. Why not? Lucas said. You had no problem betraying me in front of my father. You had no problem lying to everyone in this room, pretending to be someone you're not. Why should I protect you now? Lucas, Linda reached for him. He stepped back. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. Linda turned to her family. Mom, Dad, please, tell him. Tell him everyone makes mistakes. And why tell him? But Harold was shaking his head. I raised you better than this, Linda. I raised you better. Diane was crying. How could you do this to your husband, to this family? Linda looked around the table. Everyone was staring at her with disgust, shock, pity. Her perfect performance had shattered. The mask was gone, and everyone could see exactly who she really was. You need to leave, Lucas said. Pack your things. Get out of my house. This is my house, too. No, it's not. It's in my name. I bought it before we got married. You can talk to my lawyer next week, but tonight, right now, you need to get out. Linda stood there, mascara running down her face, her perfect Thanksgiving dress wrinkled and stained with gravy. Then she looked at me, and for the first time I saw real emotion in her eyes. Not anger, not manipulation, but genuine fear. Because she knew. She knew she'd been caught. She knew it was over. She knew she'd lost everything. This is your fault, she said to me. You did this. You poisoned him against me. No, I said quietly, you did this to yourself. She grabbed her purse, ran out of the dining room. We heard her upstairs, throwing things into a bag. 5 minutes later, she came back down, a duffel bag over her shoulder, eyes red, face destroyed. She looked at Lucas one more time. I loved you, she said. No, Lucas said. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. Linda walked out the front door, got in her car, drove away, and just like that, she was gone. The rest of Thanksgiving was quiet, awkward. People didn't know what to say. Linda's family left pretty quick after she did. Her mother couldn't stop crying. Her father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Lucas's cousin stayed a while longer, helped clean up, offered support. You need anything, man, you call us. Anything at all. By 8 o'clock, everyone was gone. The house was quiet again, just me and Lucas, surrounded by the remains of a Thanksgiving dinner that had turned into a war zone. We sat in the living room, didn't turn on the TV, just sat in the silence. I'm sorry you had to see that, Lucas finally said. Don't apologize. I'm just sorry it happened at all. Were you scared, all those months, living with her, knowing what she was doing? I thought about it, a little, but mostly I was scared for you, scared you'd never see the truth, scared she'd ruin you. She tried, Lucas said. She really tried. We sat there a while longer. Then Lucas looked at me. Pop, I was thinking, I know we talked about finding you a senior community, a place of your own. My heart sank a little. Here it comes, I thought. Now that Linda's gone, he doesn't need me anymore. But I was thinking, Lucas continued, maybe you don't need to go anywhere. This house is big enough for both of us. And honestly, I like having you here. I should have listened to you from the beginning. Should have trusted your instincts. You were trying to protect me, and I made you the bad guy. You didn't know, son. But you did. And instead of throwing it in my face now, you're just sitting here, supporting me. That's what family does. He looked at me. So what do you say? You want to stay? Make this permanent? I felt something warm spread through my chest. You sure? I don't want to be a burden. Burden? Pop, you're the only person in this whole mess who told me the truth, who saw what I couldn't see, who protected me even when I didn't deserve it. That's not a burden. That's a blessing. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. Then yeah, I'd like to stay. Good. Lucas stood up, walked to the kitchen, came back with 2 beers, handed me one. To new beginnings. To truth, I said. We clinked bottles, drank. That night, I slept better than I had since Margaret died because I wasn't alone anymore. I had my son. My son had me, and we had the truth. The divorce took about 3 months. Linda tried to fight it, tried to get the house, tried to make herself the victim. But when Lucas's lawyer showed the judge those videos, showed the pattern of lies and manipulation, it was over quick. Linda got nothing, left town, heard she moved back to her parents' place in another state. Lucas threw himself into work for a while, then into therapy. Worked through the betrayal, the trust issues, the shame, got stronger. About a year later, he started dating again. Met a woman named Keisha at a work conference. Brought her by the house to meet me. She was kind, smart, and most importantly, she was real. No masks, no performance, just genuine. What do you think, Pop? Lucas asked me after she left. I think she's good people, I said. But take your time. Don't rush it. I won't. I learned my lesson. They got engaged 2 years later. Had a small wedding at a vineyard in Virginia. I walked Lucas down the aisle. Since Margaret wasn't there to do it, someone had to. Keisha's whole family was there. Good people. Real people. At the reception, Keisha pulled me aside. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For protecting him. Lucas told me everything. What you went through with Linda. How you never gave up trying to show him the truth. That took courage." "That took being a father," I said. "Well, I'm glad he has you. And I'm glad I get to have you too, if that's okay." I hugged her. More than okay. I'm 75 now, still living with Lucas and Keisha in that house in Cary. They converted the downstairs into a full apartment for me. Bedroom, bathroom, little kitchenette, separate entrance if I want privacy. But most nights I eat dinner with them, watch TV with them, play with my granddaughter Maya, who just turned 2. Lucas is happy, really happy. The kind of happy that comes from being with someone who's honest, who's genuine, who loves you for you and not for what you can give them. And me, I found peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from being alone. The kind that comes from fighting for the people you love and winning. People ask me sometimes if I ever think about Linda, about that whole nightmare. And yeah, I do. But not with anger anymore. Just with sadness. Sadness for what she could have been if she'd just been honest. Sadness for Lucas, who had to learn the hard way that some people wear masks so well, you don't even know they're lying until the truth smacks you in the face. But mostly I think about Margaret. Wonder if she's proud of me. Proud that I protected our boy. Proud that I didn't give up even when it was hard. I think she is. I hope she is. And every night, before I go to sleep, I say a little prayer. Thank you for the truth. Thank you for family. Thank you for the courage to see what others couldn't see. Because that's what saved us. The truth and the courage to speak it, even when nobody wanted to listen. If you got this far, if you felt this story in your chest, do me a favor. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've ever had to see a truth that nobody else could see. Tell me your story. Because we're all in this together. All of us just trying to protect the people we love. All of us just trying to find peace in a world full of masks and lies. I'm Bradley James Hutchinson. I'm 75 years old, and this is the story of how I saved my son by simply refusing to stop seeing the truth. May you all have the courage to do the same.